Welcome back. Our guest today is someone who's managed to turn wildlife into a fully formed cartoon universe. One that's witty, it's sharp, and one that is entirely his own. Rohan Chakravarty is the creator of Green Humour. It's a long-running comic series on nature and conversation. He lives in Nagpur, he has 2 dogs, Srishti and Sakshi, and he has somehow made environmental cartooning feel both urgent and unexpectedly magical.
Now, over the last few years, he's authored multiple books as well, including Green Humour for a Graying Planet, Naturalist Ruddy as well. Now, Pug Marks and Carbon Footprints and Bird Business about Indian birds. And his work has been recognized by the UNDP, the WWF, the International and Sanctuary Asia as well, amongst many others. And he joins us this morning on the Breakfast Club to talk about how this all started and how humour can shape environmental awareness, and what it means to build a space like this in India, where cartooning and conservation rarely ever meet. So let's bring him on the program today. Good morning. Thank you so much, Rohan, for joining us. There is so much to ask you, and we've been going through your Instagram feed and loving every post. I want to deep dive into so many of them. But first up, talk to us a little bit about your journey. We're told you actually studied to be a dentist. How did cartooning come along?
I keep joking that I've been drawing even while I was in my mother's womb, which is why she had a rough pregnancy and delivery. So I've been drawing really from that early on. But being from a small town and being from a place that really doesn't take art seriously, as a career option, even today, I just happened to join the rat race for the lack of any better option. It was only midway through my dentistry when I was assigned to extract my first tooth. I mean, not my tooth, but the one on my patient. It was then that the realization struck me that I'll never be able to do this as my profession. And that was the moment I really tried to pull up my socks and look at art as a career option. I had to complete dentistry. It was an expensive course to get into. But after I did procure my degree, I never looked back at it. Thankfully, art materialized as a career in the form of animation earlier on. I animated for a film studio for 4 years, and after I, that job got a little mundane and a little boring, I gave it up for pursuing cartooning full time. The series that I do, which has established more or less my identity as a cartoonist, is called Green Humour. It is a series of cartoons and comics on nature conservation, on wildlife and the environment. Things that I'm personally very passionate about and very drawn to.
So today, more than a decade later, you create comics for newspapers. You also put up your comics online on your Instagram, as we were saying. Have you found a difference in the way people consume in both of those mediums?
Yes, certainly. I think because attention spans of readers are taking a hit, because of the way social media is, and generally the just the vastness and the abundance of content that is available on social media. I think a general reader of cartoons doesn't really have the time to engage with nuances. Cartooning to me is a lot like like conservation itself. It's never black or white. There is always a lot of gray, and that gray is so nuanced that it needs readers to be engaged with. And I think the scope for that is diminishing in the online medium. Because I've published with the Sunday newspaper, and because I get a lot of feedback from the new readers of the newspaper through email, I know that these are people who take the time out to engage with nuances, to even write back to me with words of praise or even criticism, which is more often than not usually constructive. And it also helps me be a better cartoonist when I hear from readers of my column in the newspaper. So I have been comparing how people engage with the print and the online medium, and I think I would say that I much rather prefer engaging with my readers in the print.
Okay, point taken. But you did explain your love for cartooning start out early. But how did environment find its way into your work?
Sure. So my mother specifically, she's the one who really inculcated a an active interest in nature in both me and my brother. She wore many hats. Uh, as a last career before she died 6 years back, she was the chairperson of Kids for Tigers in Nagpur. Kids for Tigers being a children's uh, awareness initiative that's run by Sanctuary Asia, and we had a wing of it in Nagpur. So my mother served as the chairperson for that organization, and it was around the same time that both me and my brother started to have a more active interest in wildlife. It was a bit late for me to pursue wildlife conservation or science as a career because I'd already gotten into my dentistry course. But my brother still had the time, being 4 years younger than me. He today is one of India's foremost experts on bats, and he's a bat biologist, a chiropterologist in scientific terms. And I took, I guess, the easier route, drawing cartoons about wildlife and ecology, things that I was passionate about, and also, uh, to kind of try to merge two of my, I mean, the first two loves of my life, if I could say that, which is wildlife and cartooning.
Does it ever like irritate you when you see other cartoons about the environment and they aren't accurate scientifically? Is that something that you as a creator care about?
You're right. There are a lot of cartoons about wild animals that don't pay attention to science at all. It's very common to see a polar bear and a penguin, for example, share the same space in a comic strip, which is factually incorrect because they are two poles apart. But in my comics about polar regions, you'll never see a polar bear with a penguin. Most often you'll find it with a puffin, which also belongs to the North Pole. So there are these little things that I do worry about. They're also my pet peeves. To never get the science wrong. But of course, a cartoonist also needs to exaggerate. Also needs to have humor in their work. So I do take liberties. But the motive of balancing science and humor is something that both excites me and challenges me every day. And it so happens more often than not that I may skew a bit of the balance once in a while, where sometimes I make a compromise on the scientific accuracy, maybe not being 100% for the sake of a gag. And sometimes it's the converse, where science takes precedence, and maybe it is not a cartoon that makes you laugh out loud, but at least makes you smile. So these are small prices I do pay for retaining the balance and the equilibrium between science and humor as much as I can.
All right, but Rohan, help us understand this. The thing about Indians, and let me just say this, the most striking part about your work is that you've made environment cool. You make environment talked about to a generation or perhaps a population of people who want to care about the environment but perhaps don't. What is your impression? How do you take Indians as readers, and perhaps, or do we even care about the environment?
Well, I do think that Indians inherently care about nature. We have that gene in us, but I think it gets misguided by misinformation and with a lot of propaganda and a lot of facts that are represented online by mainstream news channels, by even quite often the print media in say a mainstream newspaper, etc. So I think once equipped with the right kind of information, that inherent quality of caring for nature among Indians is does have the capacity to take shape into something larger, like a successful say environmental movement, for example. We've seen this happen during the draft EIA protests back in 2020, when online protests themselves pushed the government on the back foot with some 6 lakh signatures against the draft EIA that were garnered within a span of months. So I do think that Indians inherently care for nature, and you rightly said that there are Indians is quite a huge bracket. and there are several differences and nuances in the way Indians in different given regions engage with the environment. My travels across India have also really, and my engagement with communities have also really shaped the way I look at nature and conservation personally, because a lot of my understanding when I was getting into cartooning in the initial years, it came from a very colonial understanding and a very colonial space because of the education that we receive.
What does that mean though? How do you, if you don't mind, when you say it came from a colonial place, what do you mean when you say that? How do you decolonize then?
So to put it simply, if I can give you an example, to look at hunting for subsistence is something that colonial understanding of conservation tells us is wrong. But if you actually go spend time, spend time on field with say conservationists who are involved in conservationists from indigenous backgrounds and communities who are involved in active, on-ground conservation, you will realize bit by bit that that is not entirely true. Because even if a particular community is practicing hunting for subsistence, they still have the capacity, not just the capacity, but it is ingrained in their culture to have respect and reverence for the wildlife around them, even the wildlife that they are hunting or selling for that matter. So I know it takes a while to grasp, kind of wrap your head around, something that is so difficult to understand. But given that I have spent a lot of time in indigenous people's homes, talking about their hunting rituals, their hunting routines, and how it works, even to a certain extent, as a tool for conservation in their communities. That has really shaped my understanding of conservation, and this is something I've also tried to depict in a lot of my books, where for example, there's a book called The Great Indian Nature Trail, which is about a girl from a very urban background who's a photographer, and she interacts with tribes in the Northeast and comes to know about various mythological relationships between the people there and the animals. So the tiger, for example, is considered a brother of the Mishimi hunters that live in eastern Arunachal, and it is forbidden in the culture to hunt or even poach a tiger, no matter how close they are to Myanmar and China, which are international poaching hubs. So these are little things that I have learned from them, and which have also reshaped my understanding of conservation.
How very fascinating. But Rohan, can we just move now to some of your work? And we've picked up some of them. This is my favorite. Can we just put that up on screen? Yeah, that's the one. This is, again, Rohan's work. It's called Feminist Flamingo. If you see the full picture, it will sort of tell you what exactly it's all about. It says, yeah, F is for flamboyant, feminist, flamingo, and one more word that just wiped off screen.
Father.
Father, yeah. So it's one day after Father's Day. I'm sure you have loads to tell us about what was the thought behind this one. Yeah, this one.
Well, I just feel that flamingos are, by appearance, they are, you can't disagree that they are among the most flamboyant wild animals they can ever be around. They are extremely good dancers. I'm sure people from Mumbai and Gujarat will be very familiar with their the flash mob dance routine that they do when they court their mates. It is an absolute spectacle to watch. I haven't really been lucky to watch it in the wild, but I would really love to. But what really strikes me about the bird is how feminist it is. It's a very rare trait for a wild animal, or maybe even for a human being to have. In the real world, and which is why I really wanted to highlight that about this bird. The thing about it is that the males share every parenting duty equally with their mates, be it building the nest, be it incubating the egg. They even go to the extent of feeding the chick with milk. This is not mammalian milk. This is a substance called crop milk, which they have special glands to produce. And both males and females are equipped among flamingos to do that to the chick. So I think that is something that a lot of Indian fathers can learn a lot from, especially fathers from my parents' generation. I hope fathers from my generation are faring better on that front. I'm not a father myself, but if I were, I would probably strive and aspire to be a father like a flamingo.
Love it, love it. I found a new soul animal now.
And Rohan, I guess that takes us to our next question, which is your favorite animal? Is it the flamingo or is it something else?
Oh, that's easy. My favorite animal happens to be my spirit animal, which is the pangolin. And the reason for that is that the pangolin's, automated defense mechanism is to curl up into a ball of armor. So it's got very thick scales. And once it's curled up into a ball, a predator usually leaves it alone. And being a recluse and being a bit of a caveman myself, I feel like I want to do it every time there's a phone call or every time I'm expected to meet people I don't know. So yeah, that's my favorite animal, and I have several cartoons about it as well.
All right then, that was lovely, and good luck, Rohan, to you, to everything that you're doing in the world of comics and in the world of green humor, as you like to call it.